Okay, so thanks everybody for coming and for your support. And so everybody say hello.
Hello.
Thank you. Just for accountability's sake, you all really do exist. Thank you so much. All right, so I want to ask you a question. What shakes your faith? What shakes your faith? For some people, that is hardship or suffering. They'll go through hardship or suffering. It causes them to question God's goodness, right? But just looking around this room and knowing the people in this room, I think that probably is not the case here. I think when you go through hardship and suffering, it doesn't shake your faith, but it's actually brought you closer to God as you've leaned into God, right? So maybe hardship and suffering don't shake your faith, but how about confusion? You hear something that goes against something that you believed to be true, and it causes you to question what you have believed to be true. It causes you to question what you know about God. So when I was a graduate student, there was a professor who just hated Christianity, and he would throw out these comments about God and Christianity, these negative comments. And one time, one of the students who was Asian kind of stood up to him a little bit, and he said, you know, God does not care about Asians. There are no Asians in the Bible. I don't know why you would even think to be a Christian. And when I heard that as an Asian woman, I was like, wait, there's no Asians in the Bible? Really? God doesn't care about Asians? And it actually shook my faith for a little bit. I didn't know very much about the Bible at the time. I had to really figure that part out. So confusion over what to believe, confusion over doctrine can shake our faith sometimes. And what do you do when your faith is shaken by confusion? Right? So this is the situation of the Thessalonians. They actually went through hardship, and it didn't shake their faith, but then they became confused about doctrine, and it shook their faith a little bit. So the church in Thessalonica was planted by Paul on his second missionary journey. It was a port city, lots of working class people. Life was kind of hard to begin with, but as soon as they became Christians, they encountered persecution. So Paul was so concerned for them because he was worried that the persecution was going to shake their faith. And so he sends Timothy to check on them, to see how things are going. Well, Timothy reports back, actually, no, the persecution has not caused them to lose their faith. It's actually caused them to grow deeper in their faith and in their love for one another. And so Paul writes his first letter to the Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians, and in that letter he writes a lot about the day of the Lord coming. And you can imagine why this would be such an encouragement to people going through persecution and having a hard time in life, right? Reminding them someday this is going to end. The day of the Lord is going to come, and this is all going to end. Right? So 6 months goes by, about a year goes by, something like that, and Paul gets another report, and this report is not favorable. Paul hears that the Thessalonians are actually struggling. Persecution has increased, but in addition to the outward stresses, there's inward division and confusion over the doctrine of the day of the Lord. And some are saying that the day of the Lord has already come, like the second coming has already happened. And because of that, some of the people have become idle, meaning they've stopped working altogether. It's like, it's totally useless. Why should we work? The day of the Lord has already come, right? And so Paul writes another letter to them. This would be 2 Thessalonians, and that's what we're going to look at today, okay? So in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, beginning in verse 1,